freshman teachers used to think, oh, yeah, I'll give them marketing homework during the commercials. And I'm like, I don't want to do homework.
Well, we're glad that you're here today. There's some exciting news if you hadn't heard. There's a newest member of New Life Church, a new Tarango in the world, and so we're excited and celebrate with the Tarango family, and it's pretty awesome. So this morning we're here with Clayton Stewart. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, where you're from, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, is this working? Yes. I hadn't tried it out yet, so I had to make sure. I'm Clayton. I'm from Dallas, Texas, really Flower Mound, Texas. It's a suburb of Dallas. Dallas is huge. But that's where I was raised, not born. I was born in St. Louis, so only for a little bit. But I grew up in Texas. I love Texas. It's a little colder here than Texas. A lot colder. But grew up there. I found my faith in middle school. My mom went to a Bible study. We went to church every once in a while, but she went to this Bible study, and she's like, Clayton, come to church with me. And I was like, okay. She let me find my faith for myself, and on a mission trip in middle school, I found Jesus. He exploded out of my heart because I was some kid that didn't like to talk to anyone. I hated people, especially as a kid. I thought that was really weird. But I was serving breakfast at this. We were serving some homeless people, and something exploded out of my chest, and that night, my youth pastor said, you're a little different today, what's going on with you? And we prayed, and I accepted Jesus into my heart, and been a solid believer ever since, been raised in the church ever since, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I've learned so much about the world around us, about our amazing God and everything else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, originally, Wyoming wasn't part of your plan. You didn't just, wake up and decide, obviously you're not from here, so it also wasn't the first football team that you played on in college. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Laramie, far away from not only Whataburger, but not even a Chick-fil-A, all that kind of stuff here in Laramie. The only Division I school town that doesn't have a Buffalo Wild Wings, Andrew told me the other day. So how did you end up in Laramie?
I wouldn't even say it's a Buffalo Wild Wings. I think it's just a plain chicken restaurant. So I went to Texas State University out of high school in San Marcos, Texas. It's a college town in Texas, so it's not as big as everything else. But it's right in between San Antonio and Austin, so it's awesome. You can go to the city, you can stay in town, and there's a lot of stuff to do. Go what? Bobcats. But my freshman year, our second to last game, our head coach got fired. So I only got to play my true freshman year, and the new staff didn't like me at all. They said I was a goober. Said they didn't like me. But after that, I just stayed the course, put my head down, worked hard. Never really got a chance to play again, and I graduated in 3 years, and I was like, well, let's hit the transfer portal, and that's another story. But by the grace of God, I got an offer here to Wyoming. I love the mountains, always loved the mountains, so I was like, I'll go there and just go hang out in the mountains all the time, but I really don't have time to. But that's how I got here.
Awesome. Well, your faith has been a big part of your life, as you shared. You came to faith in Christ as a middle school student. You've shared about your faith on social media. This isn't the first time you've been at an event and shared, your faith. And what does it mean to you? What causes you to do that? You said you grew up not even, really loving people and environments like this. What causes you to come here in a room full of people that you mostly don't know today and to do stuff like this and to share your faith?
Well, first of all, it's love. Love's the foundation of what we believe, and I want to love people as the best as I can. And you love different people in different ways, but also sharing the love that we have is something I'm really passionate about, and I've grown a lot and understood a lot about. But another thing is being able to do this is a lot of college athletes you find they find their identity in their sport, and that's it's depressing, it's emotional, it's exhausting. But when I have my identity found in the one true thing that's ever going to be true, that's how I'm able to do this, because if not, I would just be oh, I'm just an athlete. I'm just a punter, so I'm not really an athlete. But that's how I really do it. Just knowing that there's all these truths in the Bible, and God is the truth, and
Yeah.
that's what's really made the foundation to be able to do that.
That's awesome. So tell us about a big moment in a football game. Like, what's the biggest highlight of your career at this point in time? Like, or maybe your favorite moment. You shared one with us earlier today. You know, like what's some big things that you'll look back on and say, man, that was fun being a part of football.
Oh, okay, I'll share two. I'll share the one I already shared with him. But in high school, we were playing our rival team. It was my senior year, and we hadn't beat them in 4 years. And we finally had a good team. And so it was a really close game, but we were winning the whole time. And going into halftime, there was like 10 seconds left on the clock, so I hit a field goal. But the clock operator made me really mad, and he said, oh, there's 1 to 2 seconds left on there, so I had to kick off again. And I was like, let's just go to the locker room. So I kicked off, and I tried to kick it out of the back of the end zone. And he caught it 9 yards deep, so no automatic touchback. And so they started returning it. No one on our covered team thought they were going to return it. So I was like, oh, gosh, I have to make this tackle. And I'm not an athlete, guys. Like, I'm a kicker and a punter. And so I made this tackle, be super goofy with it like any other specialist would be. And going into the locker room, our rival team had this 5-star recruit. And he had only 1 tackle in the game so far. And I was like, who are you? I'm better than you. I'm a kicker. And he was a hothead, too, so I almost got in a fight. But all my teammates were like, Clayton, like, why? Like, you don't have to do that. And then my second one is my first game ever as a true freshman. We played Rutgers. And Rutgers isn't very good at football, but they're the birthplace of college football. So they have a lot of fans. And didn't know what I was doing. The senior that was supposed to take me under his wing got the flu like the day before we left. So I was going around game day, just walking around like, oh, I'm going to eat this and blah, 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 and just didn't know what I was doing. So I go out there, and the first punt of my college career didn't count because there was a roughing the snapper penalty. The snapper snapped it, and then some kid just yammed him. Like, he was parallel to the ground. So he was mad for the whole rest of the game. And later in the game, I was in my end zone, and that's always scary as a punter, even when you're young in college, because everyone's way bigger than you and faster than you. Hit a really good punt, but they ran into me, and I flopped, and I got the penalty. And then I was like, yes, we get the ball back, and it was a good punt. But they called fair catch, and our snapper was still really mad, and he just hit the returner, and he wasn't expecting it at all. So there was offsetting penalties. Hit another really good punt, best punt of my career, still to this day, don't know how. And then the next one, I was all jacked up to go for the next punt, and I punted it 19 yards.
Well, let's talk about that transition from Texas State to Wyoming a little bit more. What was that like? How was the transition? There's, a lot of talk right now about the transfer portal. Obviously, like, it's kind of a two-edged sword. It's kind of hurt us a little bit, and then it's brought some people here. But you were kind of part of that even before this season. So, like, what was that whole process like? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I entered the transfer portal the worst possible time anyone could do it because the NCAA said everyone could play an extra year, so they weren't looking for anyone else. So my coaches at Texas State basically told me to enter the portal because I was gonna be taken off scholarship, and I was like, okay, I don't care. I entered the transfer portal. The next day, I packed up and moved to Birmingham, Alabama for the summer because that's where my punting coach was. He's a really weird dude. He talks like this all the time. And if you hit a good punt and you do what he if you do what he coaches you, all of a sudden he goes, "Who's your daddy?" All the time. So he's a weird guy. But going through the summer with him was interesting, especially through the portal, because I would tell him who called me, and he goes, "Okay, I'll call him tonight." And I was like, "You don't even have their phone number." He has everyone's phone number. It is crazy. But the portal's scary, especially for me, because I had a rough time recruiting in high school. So all those like old fears I had came back, and I felt like I didn't have any control over everything. You feel like you have to be constantly on your phone, checking Twitter, because that's how coaches get a hold of you first. But my coach at Texas State knew the special teams coordinator here. My coach at Texas State actually liked me as a person, so he helped me. He just thought I was weird. So I got in contact with Coach Boyd, if any of y'all have heard of him. He's the corners coach and the co-special teams coordinator. And then I got to talk to Coach Moore, who's the tight ends coach, and he's the other co-special teams coordinator, and they recruited me. And like I said, it was awful to be in the portal at that time. That's another reason I was so stressed out about it, because no one's talking to anyone. They don't need anyone unless there's like a stud quarterback, and it's never the case for me. I'm the fourth down quarterback. But by the grace of God, they said, "You want to come here?" I was like, "Sure." So.
We've got a picture here that I want to show you, and I want to know like what was going through your mind at this moment in this picture. So tell us a little bit about this picture.
So that was my first border war, one and only I've had so far. Most fun game I've ever been a part of. But I'm a fan of taking extremely weird pictures because I'll remember the picture more instead of just smiling. And my mom hates that. So I took that picture in mind saying I wanted to like curve my face to the boot and send it to my mom. And then I was like, I'll put in my Twitter profile picture.
That's awesome. So what has it been like to play here at the University of Wyoming, to play in Laramie and for Coach Bowl?
Well, Texas State was never good at football, so it's so fun having a crowd that like loves to be there and is loud. I'd never been part of I was a part of a sellout crowd. Our first game, my second year at Texas State, was at A&M, so there's a little more people than y'all just because it's a cult there. Sorry if there's any A&M fans there. But it's so fun. Like, it feels like a small town in Texas. Like it feels like the state shuts down just for the games, and I really appreciate that. Like, it's really fun. I have a special relationship with Coach Bull because he's our position coach, and he also coached linebackers, so he tries to relate it to linebacking a lot, and I'm trying to wrap my head around that because I never played linebacker.
That's awesome. So last season, obviously the expectations for the team were really high. There was this feeling because of maybe the players that were returning and some of the continuity that maybe even a Mountain West championship would be possible. And needless to say, the season didn't play out as anybody expected. What was that like from a player perspective, and just to be a part of the team and to feel like you're not living up to expectations maybe within the team and in from the fans as well?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard, especially because I was like that for 3 years at Texas State, so I didn't know any different. But it was really fun winning the first 4 games. Never had a winning streak, so that was really cool. But from what I did know at Texas State is you have to stay positive, but you can't be like too positive. You have to put your nose to the grindstone and keep working, and that's just what eventually came about it. Like, we figured out the perfect formula to win the last couple games, or we beat Colorado State. I always heard if that's one game we win, that's a good season. But we got to a bowl game. That was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. But it's college football is a business, so you're going to have to, it's like a business. If you're not making money, you have to figure out how to make money no matter what the costs are, and that's what we did.
Yeah. How did that test your faith as a believer as well? Just feeling like not living up to that. Did that impact your faith in any way?
That goes back to what I said, like having my identity. I don't like having my identity in my sport. So I like it if I'm at the football facility, I'm focused on football. But other than that, like, I don't want it to consume my life. So it tests your faith. You're like, what are we doing wrong? Like, but every time I pray before the game, I said, if it's your will, God, let us win. So yeah. I can control what I can control, and he can control what he can control. Yeah,
absolutely. How do you stay accountable through the course of the season? Obviously, it's a different schedule. You were talking earlier this week about just how much flying that there is and all that kind of stuff. How do you stay accountable with the different kind of routine and not lose your way and your faith through the ups and downs of the course of the season?
Well, the good thing about a season is it makes you have a routine. And if you don't, you're going to miss a ton of homework assignments. You're going to forget when you have meetings. You're going to forget to go to class or sleep through class. Did that a lot as a younger college student. But it helps you have a routine, and also having like people in your corner. And I had to find new people here, but I also have a girlfriend that lives in Houston, so I talk to her every night. And then my best friend, he at Texas State. He just transferred to Northern Colorado, so we'll play him next year. So hopefully I'll tackle him or something. But talking to them, like you share what you're going through, but they point you to the right direction. It's always good to have people in your corner, especially when you're just a mindless routine during the season, because it's the most busy time you'll ever have.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about this off season. December was just brutal to the University of Wyoming football program, to put it kindly. There were transfers, there were rumors, there was all kinds of bad news. It seems like every day just more bad news, like this person's gone, that person's gone, and we're going to keep our coach, all this kind of stuff. Finally, it seemed like in January, things started to like turn, and the portal started bringing us players, not just hemorrhaging them out. But what was that like for you, and what's your outlook for this football season?
Well, December was interesting because I was just looking on Twitter like y'all, and I was like, oh, didn't know that guy was going. So it was interesting, and then I saw the same thing. But it's hard to say, like, the outlook of the team besides the culture in the weight room and the runs right now, it's awesome. It's one of the best cultures I've been around. There's encouragement, making sure people are doing the right thing. If you mess up, the players are calling you out, not the coaches. So I always think that's a really cool thing. But the culture looks phenomenal. I can't tell about the new quarterbacks until I see them throw, and I'm not invited to routes.
Yeah. Well, that's good that they didn't need you to be with the quarterbacks at this point. So any goals or predictions for this next season?
I'd like to play this next season. I had some medical stuff that didn't let me really have a chance to play last year, and so I've been working really hard at that. Just want to be the best I can be and help the team on the field.
Awesome. There was a popular news story a couple years ago, and LeBron James was told basically to just shut up and dribble and not to use his platform to share his opinions. How has your platform enabled you to share your faith, and what does that kind of look like over the course of your football career?
Well, I guess I have a all right looking social media, but my best friend now at Northern Colorado has a really good one, and he has like 2 TikTok accounts with like 70,000 followers. But one of them is Have You Read Your Bible? And I always think about that. And people have talked to him about that, and he was like, if I'm sharing truth, I'm going to share truth. An opinion can be an opinion, but if there's truth involved in it, like that's what we're going to share. So I post a verse or a cool thing that pops up on mine, but I'll always share truth or something. More particularly, I like to speak life into people, whoever may see it. So if I have the opportunity to speak life into someone, either if it's directly or indirectly, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. What about for other people that are here that maybe their platform isn't football or sports, but how can they, use the influence in whatever sphere that God's given them to be a light in those various places? What would you say to people about that?
Well, even if you're a football player, a regular business guy, a student, you're on a platform because we're called to be different than this world, and that God put you on a platform. So use your platform. He's given it for your reason. He does it for his glory, and that we can share the love that he has for everyone. Don't be ever scared to do that. And if you are scared to do it, just say a quick prayer. Read the word. It'll calm you down. It'll give you motivation. It'll do all this other kinds of stuff. But don't just shut up and type or shut up and dribble or whatever you're doing. Like, share what you believe.
Awesome. There's people here today that could care less about football. It's not their thing. They've, in fact, heard more about football from you in the last, 15 minutes than they've heard over the last 15 years combined. So outside of football, just share your heart. What has God been speaking to you? What encouragement would you have maybe for people that can't relate on a football level, but just in life in general that's crazy and unpredictable and an unknown future? Just share your heart a little bit, maybe outside of football.
Well, all throughout college, I've had this fixation on how many times it says do not fear in the Bible. And it says 365 times do not fear. So Jesus gives us the 2 important commandments, but I argue there's a third most important commandment, because if God says something 365 times, the most times in the Bible, it's obviously important. He knows we're going to struggle with it. So I'm all about do not fearing, and I always find myself fearing in new ways. So whatever you're fearing in, bring it to him. And also, when you're looking fear in the eye, that's an opportunity to ask God for some radical prayers. And I read a book. Side story. I'm reading 52 books this year, a book a week. So, yes, I'm old as a 22-year-old. But one of the books I read was In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day by Mark Batterson. Phenomenal book. but it talks about if you're in a fearful situation and you're asking God to like take you away from it, not even make it easier, you're putting limits on him to do miraculous things. And our God's a miraculous God. So why would we limit his power just to make it easier or more comfortable for us?
Yeah.
So that's one thing I've been learning about fear. And then also, I was fearing a new place. It's weird being a new old guy. Wyoming doesn't get a lot of transfers until this year. I was like the one exception. But like all the other new guys are all freshmen, and I don't want to hang out with all the freshmen all the time. I could teach them, but not all the time. They have a lot of stuff going on.
They have sweet dorm rooms, though, man. I'm telling you.
I got invited to go hang out in some dorm rooms, and I'm like, I'm not going to hang out in a dorm. But what was I going? I also find that, like, when I have a lack of community, I learned this during the quarantine. I put more faith in my community than I put my faith in God. I put more assurance in my community. I confess more to my community. And so I always think about why should I treat my community more like God than I treat God like God. If God's the one thing that can take all my worries, anxieties, and stresses away, why do I tell people? So that's another thing I've been learning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so tell us who you think is winning it all. We'd love a score prediction, but more than that, like give us a little analysis, like why is it going to end that way?
I'll preface this. Either team wins, it's an awesome story. Matthew Stafford completely deserves it. He played for the Lions, and that's enough said. Joe Burrow is an animal. We could all tell that. Every college football player could tell you Joe Burrow is going to be an animal in the NFL. The fact that he's going to do it, he's in the Super Bowl in his sophomore season after tearing his ACL and everything. Especially that the Bengals drafted his best receiver he had in college and said, you should draft a lineman, you should draft a lineman. They did that, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So each story is awesome. But I think I have to go with the safe pick and pick the Rams. But Matthew Stafford deserves it, I think, a little bit more. He's also from Dallas, so I like that. But I have a different analysis than everyone else. I watch special teams a lot more than the rest of the game. I have trained with the Rams punter before, and I think he's an awesome dude. I also have kicked with the Bengals kicker, and y'all know he is heartless. Like he said, he told the backup quarterback, we're going to the AFC Championship game. He'd look kids dead in the eye at kicking camps when we were in high school. We were in the same recruiting class, and he goes, you're going to miss this kick, and I'm going to make it and win the camp. So, but I think the Rams punter is a little bit more of a game changer. He can flip the field. Evan can just kick field goals if he's in the range. So I think the Rams punter is the secret weapon.
Awesome. You heard it here. The Rams are going to win the Super Bowl thanks to their punting game. That's awesome. So what's your score prediction? So
34-28.
34-28 Rams. Okay, we are going to do something as well here just a few minutes after service. We're going to post a picture of a pennant that Clayton has signed, and we're going to let you put your score predictions on there, and whoever is the closest score prediction in today's game on that post will win that pennant. So in just a few minutes after service, go on there, post your score predictions. But would you help me thank Clayton for being here today and for sharing his story? We really appreciate it. It's awesome. Clayton's a part of FCA and has been involved with them, and today we're going to make a donation to FCA on your behalf, so thank you for being here and being a part of that as well. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things I want to share with you today before we conclude. There's a few different things that are coming up, and one of those is next Sunday is our missions weekend. It's going to be an incredible weekend. We're going to have Ron Maddox here and speak. Some of you were here last year when he was here and challenged us. Ron spent his entire career in Asia, was one of the first missionaries to go back into China, smuggle Bibles into China. It'd be really powerful. Some of the things, he's not going to share the exact same thing he shared last year when he was here, but he's going to be here to kick off Missions Weekend. In addition to that, we're going to have two missionary families, the Bentleys and the Hobbs, are going to be here, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. So you don't want to miss that, hearing from them. And in addition to the Sunday morning, we're going to have on Sunday evening at 5:30 p.m., we're going to have an international food Potluck, Banquet, and Ron will be sharing that morning, and the missionaries, the Bentleys, and the Hobbs will be sharing more that evening, and it's just going to be bring any kind of international food, international dish. If you got nothing else, bring rice, and that will work. It'll go with all kinds of other things that we have, but it's going to be an awesome and incredible weekend. So I want to encourage you, one, not only to be here and be a part of it, because so many times we talk about missions, we mention missions, but we don't get to hear from our missionaries. And so this is an opportunity that they're here and they're taking time away from the places that God has called them to be here and share with us and update us. And so I'd encourage you to be here and be a part. Sunday morning and Sunday night, they're both going to be awesome. But also, would you consider what you'd like to do as far as a missions offering? And if you're not giving already regularly to missions, we'd love for you to consider making a missions pledge. We give about $700 a month as a church between the commitments to all of our missionaries. And that doesn't count like the money that the kids raise with their BGMC barrels and all that kind of stuff. But that $700 a month, what does that look like? Well, it looks like people like you that say, hey, I'm going to give $10 a month to missions, or I'm going to give $25 a month to missions, or whatever it is that God lays on your heart. And then we're able to support those missionaries on a monthly basis along with hundreds of other churches that support them. And it's that financial support and that prayer support that allows them to be able to go and do what God's called them to do in various places. And I'm super excited to hear about that. Ellie shared with you at the beginning of service about our check-in challenge. And the heart behind that is as we're going into Easter season, we're going to have some exciting days ahead. Palm Sunday, Pastor Jana's working on a really awesome Easter egg hunt that I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's going to be not your average Easter egg hunt. It's going to be an incredible one. We got Easter coming up. It's going to be some time where people are saying, hey, you know what? It's time for me to get back in church. It's time for me to go to church and be involved and to find the place that I want to be. Some people, it'll just be an Easter thing. Other people, they're looking for a church to connect with. And so we just feel like if the people that are here will share where they go to church and be a part of that through checking in, simple, just checking in on Facebook or tagging us and saying, hey, I was at New Life today and really enjoyed the service. That's an opportunity for people to hear and know. And oftentimes what's missing in people going to church is just a simple invitation, someone that they know saying, hey, I'd love for you to go to church with me. So I encourage you, if you haven't checked in already, check in and just say, hey, next Sunday, be here. It's going to be exciting. Come sit with me, whatever it is. That simple invitation is a powerful one, and it can go a long way. We are not having youth and kids today because of the Super Bowl that's happening, and so I know a lot of them will want to watch that. A lot of our leaders are going to want to be a part of that, and so don't bring your kids here at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock for youth. And then the final thing I want to let you know about is on Sunday the 27th. So next week is Mission Sunday on the 20th. A week after that, we are not going to be here in this building. We're going to have life groups. And those are actually, there's 2 different ways that you can sign up to be a part of a life group. If you are technologically inclined in any way, you have a cell phone or a computer, you can go onto our website right now. And there's a tab at the top that says Next Steps. And then there's life groups on there. And you can pick a location. Right now we have 7 different locations where you can choose to be a part of a life group. And you can sign up, and that'll send that life group leader just a message, hey, I'm coming to your group, and they'll plan and prepare for you. We would love even a couple other life groups. If you didn't know about this, and you say, hey, we'd love to open our home or our location, we'd love to have a couple other location options as well. And so you can still sign up, and we can add you to the list there. But we would love for you on the 27th to be a part of community. And this is an opportunity for you to grow. It's an opportunity to build relationships. Sometimes this is powerful what God does here in these moments. We come together, we worship, we're in this environment, we're hearing, but God also moves through the relationships that we have with each other. And oftentimes when we come and sit like this, we don't even know the person that's next to us. We don't know the testimonies like we heard today. We don't know the struggles and the challenges and how we can pray for each other, and those relationships are built. And so this is a powerful thing to do. And the other factor is if you show up here to this building on the 27th, there's going to be a gun show going on. So maybe I shouldn't have told you that because it gives you an alternative, but that's what's happening. And so we're going to have our life group Sunday, and we'd love for you to be a part of that. So a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of really good things coming up, and we're super excited that you guys are going to be a part of it. I want to close with this from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 20 and 21. This is going to be our closing benediction today. It says this: "Now may the God of peace, who brought up our dead Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, and ratified an eternal covenant with his blood, may he equip you with all that you need for doing his will. May he produce in you, through the power of Jesus Christ, every good thing that is pleasing to him. All glory to him forever and ever. Amen." Thanks so much for being here and being part of this special day. If you take a moment and visit with Clayton, let him know how much you appreciate him being here, and we look forward to connecting with you next Sunday for Missions Week. And have a great rest of your day.